right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Plastic Memories, Episode 4.
All right.
Making memories.
Making memories, yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Roll credits.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now that we are kind of a little bit more into the form and function and kind of the flow of the show, I can kind of see now how they'll kind of project out the next kind of set of episodes. They need to go a little bit more into establishing how our main character Tsukasa starts to understand the dynamics that are kind of in the undertow behind not only Ira but the rest of the team.
Yeah, and he's started to connect with Ira.
Yep,
he's definitely started to.
Took some
took some doing. You know, and they've had little bits of being vulnerable with each other, and now we can maybe see that just
bits here and there. Yeah,
but it's little bits, which makes sense because they just met each other, right? But that means we'll probably get to see that develop more and more. Probably some more antics at the office and job. But I'm excited to see how they delve into how Ira's doing, because she knows she's dying,
and then also the idea of those memories being made, whether or not people like to or not,
right? Because
just time going on, memories will be made whether or not they're impactful ones. So that's what we got. So y'all, without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. All right. Okay. So that's a part 1 to everything going on with Sota's mini arc here, and
it could theoretically be the end of it, and then it's just a tie-in to this whole bit with the black market, people.
Sure.
But yeah, I feel like they did a really good job this episode of balancing the world building with the characterization and all that stuff, right? Because we had the stuff with Ira this episode, and they didn't beat around the bush to get there, right? They were very upfront and direct with it, and I like that a lot. And then they had things like, company meeting, and your overhead is way too much, and
you're in the red.
Probably because of doing things like actually getting to know the people before, taking the giftias back and things like that.
Taking having a job still out for a giftias that's not actually that efficient. So
right.
That's another bit there. They could go actually with another twist. Something I just randomly thought of was the idea that in some ways the guy actually who's the leader there, the reason why he's saying the black market stuff is such a big deal for them is that he's actually giving them special information or something like that to make some extra money on the side. I mean,
potentially,
random thought there. Okay. So what's going on with Ira that I think is really, really important to bring in right now is that while giftias are very much kind of indistinguishable from people, really, they kind of look the same. They're the feelings that they have essentially are things that are harder to manifest maybe in reality, because they're kind of I don't know, they're kind of dictated by, I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to psychoanalyze maybe a bit too deep of why she can't smile.
Well, I think it's not so much necessarily a thing of, well, okay, all right. So here's my theory. Here's my theory.
Go for it. Yeah.
So with a lot of the other giftias, they actually have solid relationships.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They have solid relationships with their owners and things like that, and so they're still able to be positive, right? Even though they do have emotional, they do get emotional when the idea of them leaving is brought up, right?
Right.
Not all the time, in different ways, but that's there. In Ira's case, she was essentially abandoned. Because if you think about it, her partner, right?
Kazuki,
yeah. The one that she was closest to said, let's not.
Yeah.
And after that, what happened? Nothing.
Nothing.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Ira didn't get another partner. She didn't go on any other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
She essentially was just waiting to die.
Yep.
Right? That's not exactly something that will put you into a good emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
So now she is understandably incredibly depressed and wondering what to do about the fact that she's going to be gone soon.
Yep.
And there are connections that she has, connections that she wished she had, that feel damaged, broken, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't know how to deal with that, right?
Sure.
And then along comes this other person that is clueless to her situation, even though we really should have clued in by now.
Yeah.
And she's probably going to start caring about him too.
Yep. She's saying things like "Good morning,"
right?
At least at the very least, kind of saying like, "Yeah, I'll reciprocate."
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, a little bit.
Yep.
And he's freaking out about that because like, "Oh my gosh, she's reciprocating!
Right.
Wow, this is awesome!"
Yep. And I thought that was as much as I was a little bit like, oh, okay, they're doing the whole thing like, oh yeah.
This tired trope.
They're living together, so the girl starts undressing because she doesn't think much of it, and then the guy starts freaking out, whatever. But it actually wasn't that.
Yeah,
it wasn't that. He's freaking out about the fact that you actually said good morning.
Right.
That's fantastic. I've been trying to connect with you on some level, and it's working. And then of course the tsundere comes in at that moment and gets the misunderstanding, right? And he wasn't even freaking out about that, and then she promptly throws him out, right?
Yeah.
That was a great little subversion that they did there. That wasn't just there for the sake of being like, hey, we're gonna set up the anime trope and then not do it.
Right.
It actually serves to characterize the characters.
Yeah.
So way to go.
Good job. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of Michiru though in general here. This did actually warm me up a little bit to her and the idea that okay, we get a little bit more of her backstory and where she's coming from with a lot of this. And it makes sense given that, she had this kind of dynamic with her dad.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear anything about a mom, which means that she didn't have a mom. She might have also been, someone that,
and
was alone.
Right. And one of the things that I love it when stories do this with tsunderes is making it so that they're emotionally stunted in some way.
Yes.
Because of how they were raised, things that happened to them, whatever. And now they're trying to basically cover for that, right? Because they know that that's a weakness of theirs, right? Mm-hmm. But they don't realize that the way they cover for it isn't really working. It's enough to deflect their own attention off of the issue, but it's not, but it's dysfunctional, right? As the trope generally is, right? So the fact that we started to get some backstory for her there, and also shown in parallel what having a giftiest parent can do, to a kid,
what that looks like.
Even though she's like, it was a lot, it was a completely different experience for me. That's still something that's got to be pretty tough, right? And the idea that she was the one, say, doing the cooking, for instance, maybe it's just a thing of single dad, right, kind of a thing, but then. How does that work?
Because they're a robot,
right. If they're a robot and all that,
programmed them to be able to cook, right?
Right, exactly. This probably isn't what it is, but what it made me think of is that before she needed a giftiest dad, her dad wasn't in a good way.
Wait. How do we know she had was there a point where they made a mention of how she had a human dad, and then there was a point where he wasn't around, and then there was a giftiest dad?
No, they said that she was raised by a giftiest. So maybe it was that the whole way through. That probably makes a lot more sense, given that they only last for 9 years. My question is was it since she was born, and then once she was 9, then
Oh yeah, I wouldn't see it like that. I would say it's more of a thing of where she had a point that she was either in the foster system or living in an orphanage
sometime before the giftiest. Yeah,
it doesn't have to be the transition point happened when the giftiest came in. The giftiest could have came in way later.
Sure, but the idea of a time before the giftiest shows up, right? Which is basically a time where either she had a different parent or she didn't have a parent or something, right? Because there was some reason that the gift yes was brought in the first place.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unless she just had it since she was born, and then, you know, when she's 9, then she has to deal with the fact of not having a parent.
That would have been a cool thing for them to bring up, is that she's been always raised by gift yes, and there were 2 of them. That would have been a cool kind of thing.
Sure.
Have it be like her father's, you know, or her father and her mother, but she had them both at different times or something like that.
Well, and one of the things that I mean, you know, and this was like, they gave her good characterization this episode, but this episode wasn't focused on her. Right. So that, like, they could play on more of the things here that were shown here. They might not, you know, who knows.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that I was thinking about is, are there ways that a person would develop differently being raised by an android, not because the android is programmed differently, but because the person knows that they're an android, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The idea that they're here because this is what they're programmed to do, you know, or you know, whatever, any of those things where it can cause the person to doubt, right? Or any other vast set of emotions that could probably come into play.
Sure.
And that could also be one of the reasons why, like, maybe her cluelessness about, you know, social cues or what people are really thinking or feeling, things like that. They don't have to like say that it's this by any stretch of the imagination, right? They could just leave it at this. But I like that this is something that is potential setup, right?
Yeah. The big thing this episode with Marcia and Sota being that we need to let him know that he was loved so that he remembers that, and then ends up experiencing it all over again so that he can move on and be able to be okay once she's gone, is something that it feels very, very, like, kind of them as a business in order to be able to spend time doing this. Like, it doesn't seem to be a company kind of given thing. This is just the quirkiness of their group here specifically.
Right. And that might be part of the 5 times the overhead, you know?
Sure, yeah, it just takes more time for them to do things. So they end up getting less done over a longer period of time. The fact, though, that the birthday party happened, and then it has the, you know, emotional catharsis of him then remembering and flashing back to this whole thing, but then he's having his tsundere moment while crying, being like, this doesn't even taste that good. Like, you know, she did it way better. Stop saying random things like that.
Yeah.
And then he kind of reminds us that he's a kid, you know, he's a little kid. When he's like, wait, oh, you'll say mom and dad are with me too, right? Like, it's the thing of like, oh, I can believe that. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, thank you. And then he bursts out crying. So what I love about this is it's not the nostalgia of the memory and having this experience all again that gives him the emotional freedom to mourn and be okay with this, but also it's the moment of being like, oh, so the things you're saying are the truth. I can believe you now. All the things that you said that I thought were lies, now I'm going to believe you. And then he collapses into her arms, basically saying, I love you, you know.
Right. Well, and one of the things that I love about how they did this is specifically with how it relates to Ira. Because the boy's struggle was basically, are these memories worth anything? Right? Because my parents are gone. You're going to leave me too. What's the point of it all? Right? Right. You know, and then he finally realizes, no, I still have those memories, right? Ira has been not wanting to make memories with anybody because, as you know, Kazuki brought this up, it'd be better for everyone, right? That is, oh boy, wow. Yeah, that is something that she believes. Yep. And the problem is that while it may make things easier in certain senses, it's also not true. Not true. It is better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all.
Yeah, but tell us the people that actually have loved and lost, though.
Right.
Because a lot of people, I think, that say that haven't actually experienced that.
Well,
obviously, because there's not as many people that have experienced that.
Right, but the idea, well, and that it might take years to get over the pain of everything where you actually are able to say that, right, and mean it. But the idea that she is so afraid of making memories.
Yes.
Right? Because and she's wondering, oh yeah, are like how real are these memories even?
Right.
Because that's all that she's going to be leaving behind, right?
Yeah.
And so it's something where the fact that they had the episodic characters of this episode, right, tie in to the character that we've been wanting to get more characterization from in such a nice way without needing to draw any direct like direct connections and parallels between the two. Like for the audience, they don't need to say like, oh, this is just like it is with Ira. They just, you know, show her emoting or not emoting in whatever way that she is, and that's her dealing with it. And then in case we aren't picking up on that, they have the stuff with Michiru of her also being raised by Giftias, so that way it's layered, right?
If it's a double.
If we don't pick up on that, we still have the obvious stuff because it's hard to miss the tsundere. Like, you know.
Well said. Yeah. That was probably the last thing I was going to mention as well, is that this episode doesn't tie in directly to Ira's situation, as I was trying to say at the beginning of the episode, but the feelings and fears and worries that Sota is experiencing here are things that she has already kind of gone through. But Sota is able to kind of, because of this act of love here, is able to kind of let those feelings out, is able to express them here. She can't, though.
Well, yeah, she doesn't feel she can.
She doesn't feel she can't.
Right,
and that's the whole thing of her being unable to smile. So.
Right, because there's 3 years of her just sitting on the, it's best for everyone. Did they say the amount of time it was? Maybe I'm wrong about the 3 years thing.
Because 3 years, I think that's when Michiru's father was
yes,
retrieved.
That's right.
The point where they do the little flashback thing to, what was it, like a carnival
or something.
It's right here. It's where they're at the and they're actually at that place.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, so that's why also she wasn't really a fan of going here necessarily, because it's another memory.
Right. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Also, is this really for Sota's sake? That bit. You know?
Yeah.
That's an interesting line.
Right, because yeah.
Yeah. I think I want to stew on that. Because I don't think it's answered as obviously as what it means specifically in this episode. It could be because it just comes after the Kazuki flashback here.
Yeah.
I guess it's is this better for both of us kind of thing, and this is just showcasing of whether or not she really feels like this because it's actually better for both parties.
Right, because that will make it so that when she leaves, Sota will have to go through the pain of losing someone that he actually let himself be attached to, as opposed to just sort of, shoving it all away, which he would have still had to deal with eventually, right? Because that's the problem. Can't put the genie back in the bottle. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. All right, so y'all, that's this episode's reaction and discussion. Thank you for watching to the end of it here. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yep, that's right. So I wrote a sci-fi novel. I love it. I think it's pretty great. It's
pretty
called
awesome,
Battle Lines. It's available for purchase on Amazon. The link is in the description below. It's in both hardback and ebook, so whichever works best for you, go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.